Hey, this is Amyx, the creative entrepreneur, co-founder of A New Way to Market, and co-creator of Grow My Passion, where we help holistic practitioners and creative entrepreneurs share their divine talents and profit from their passions. And with me today, I'm really excited. I have Keith Everett, and I met Keith on Facebook a few years ago. And Keith is an internet marketer, and he's living in Broxbourne, Hertfordshire, England. Did I get all of those words right?
You certainly did.
Perfect.
Hertfordshire.
Perfect.
UK.
Awesome.
Hertfordshire.
And one of his greatest pleasures in life is to see people climbing the ladder of success and making those dreams come true. And if you want to learn more about Keith and what he does and how he can help you as an internet coach, go over to www.webnetcoaching.com. Again, that's webnetcoaching.com. So how are things there in the UK, Keith?
Well, first of all, AJ, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to the call. Things in the UK, yes. It's a bit dull here, but it is October, so it's to be expected.
Right, yes. Well, very good. So how did you get started in internet marketing? Kind of what's been your journey? I mean, I read briefly on Facebook, your About section. You had a great way of writing, where you started and what you went through, and you've been through a lot. And we work with a lot of people who are just now starting, or maybe they've kind of been doing it for a while, but they're not yet at profitability. So I think it would be awesome if you just kind of share your journey and how you got started and your trials and tribulations.
Absolutely. When I started in early 2010, and I had experience on the internet before, but that was from eBay. I was an eBay seller, full-time eBay seller for just under 5 years previously. But I never had any real sort of marketing experience, so I really wanted to be an internet marketer. Mm-hmm. And what I did was I just kind of did what I guess most people do. They just decide they want to do it and just go for it, go out there and learn as much as you can. Unfortunately, I just really learnt, I learned everything all at once, which kind of resulted in nothing happening at all. Just lots of noise, but no actual traction.
Right.
Because, as you know, if you keep going off in all different directions, you're not actually going to achieve anything at all, really.
Certainly.
So I just decided, after a few months of doing that, I just decided to concentrate on one thing, which was blogging. And prior to that, I hadn't really any experience about WordPress.
Okay. So
I taught myself WordPress, and away I went. And I decided to concentrate on tips, money-making tips, if you like. Well, at the time, I wasn't making any money.
Right.
So what I was doing was I was just really taking information that other marketers were talking about, and I was just redoing it and putting it out there, in my own way, if you like, just giving people tips on how to make money. And that kind of grew.
Okay.
In the first year that I was an internet marketer, I have to say I made a grand total of $16. Right. 16 whole dollars. And, that first check was fabulous. Just to make that bit of money.
Right.
But it was a bit of a tragic year for me. Hope you don't mind me sharing this with you.
Do.
But my girlfriend of 10 years, she was only 31 years of age, and in October of that year, she passed away of pneumonia. She died of pneumonia, and that was a terrible, terrible shock.
Yes.
And I just kind of I spent a few days afterwards thinking about whether I really wanted to carry on doing this, because I guess as most internet marketers out there, when they first start, the first part of your journey can be so lonely. Mm-hmm. Because you're sitting here day after day and you're doing the same things over and over, and you're just not getting a result.
Right.
Or at least not the results that you want. So I was kind of desperate, really. It was a desperate time, and things were just not going right. Everything really seemed to be going wrong. I was running out of money very quickly. So it was either really a choice. I kind of made a choice. It was either to go and get a job, of which I really didn't want to do.
Right.
Or to just continue and just try and do it better. Mm-hmm. So I kind of sat down and I thought, look, I have to do this on a bigger scale and I have to make some money. So I decided to start doing a lot more research online of the sort of things that make people money. And I was writing a lot more articles, a lot more stuff, if you like. And it kind of broke for me when I sort of discovered the Warrior Forum.
Oh, yes.
I went in there and I started talking to people, and that's the one thing I would suggest to anyone in this business is, get yourself out there and learn from other people as much as you can, but don't learn about everything. Learn about one thing at a time. And what I learned about was affiliate marketing.
Okay.
So I decided to become an affiliate for those Warrior Forum products, the WSOs.
Right.
What I would do was I would buy a WSO, and if I liked it, I would suggest it to my readers of the blog. And I did that. Slowly I was building up a mailing list, and I was getting some success from doing that. Not a lot of success, but I think by the end of 2010, I was probably making just on $50 a month. In 2011, the first part of 2011, I started to turn that into more money, and I was probably making $500 a month out of the Warrior Forum.
Okay.
Just selling WSOs. So
wow.
I started to make a little bit of money. I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you like.
Yes.
And I built that up to, $1,000, and it just basically took off from there. What I started doing was I thought, well, okay, I'm selling other people's products on the Warrior Forum. Why don't I just do a product of my own?
Uh-huh.
And I'd had some experience of making screencast videos with Camtasia.
Yes.
So I thought, well, I hadn't seen a Camtasia product on the Warrior Forum, so I thought I would do one myself, and it took me a week to do it.
Okay.
And I went onto the Warrior Forum, sold this product, and in the first week I sold, I think it was 340 copies.
Wow.
Of this product.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Because not only was I getting some money in, but I was also getting buyers onto my list.
Right.
Which brought in more money because I was then sending them other Warrior Special offers as an affiliate.
Uh-huh.
So that's how my business started to grow. I just kept rinsing and repeating.
Okay. And when you talked about honing in on your, making your blog better, what did you do to make your content better?
I started to produce content which had video content within it.
Perfect.
So it wasn't just articles anymore.
Okay.
That seemed to get the content shared more. Mm-hmm. I started to syndicate the content myself a lot more by joining a tribe.
Okay.
I basically just became better, I guess, at writing, producing articles. I added a lot more. I added a lot more of my personality into them. So I injected a lot of humour.
Certainly.
Into those articles because that seemed to be what people liked.
Well, it goes back to authenticity, and that's what, your authenticity and your certainty is what people are going to resonate with and actually buy in the marketplace.
Absolutely. I mean, you need to, it's nice having an image out there, which I've slowly built up an image of this guy with the baseball cap and the headphones.
Right.
And Ask the Tipster. But it also, you need to resonate with people and you need to be yourself. And I know everybody says this, be yourself. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. But, if you're that guy that likes telling jokes or that girl that likes telling jokes and being funny, then you should be that person.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Don't just change because you're on the internet,
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. My background is performing. It's actually as an artist, a rock and roll guitar player, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's always fun because, that is me, very energetic, very just kind of a little crazy on that piece, but I also have the whole little Pisces thing going on where I'm real chill and like my space and quiet. I need time to myself. So it's interesting when on camera, and as when I'm working in the business world, it's like flipping on a little light switch that I just access that piece of me that loves to be kind of over the top and very energetic and just a little loud, and then coming back and allowing myself to kind of be just quiet and focused when I want to be. But what I've learned is that by allowing myself just to continue to be in that performer space, because I really, really enjoy it. It's not performing and putting on a character for the sake of a facade, but it's just something I really enjoy. There's a bunch of people that just freaking love it, and they resonated with it very much. Kind of like how you're talking about just telling jokes or whatever it is for you, just always say, be yourself with excellence. Whatever that is for any individual, as long as they will do that, everything else will flow from that.
Yeah. I think that if you've got an outgoing personality, then entertain people as well as inform them. There's an expression, isn't there, on the internet called infotainment.
Yep.
And I think that's a good thing to hone in on if you are an outgoing person. But not to worry if you're not an outgoing person. If you are a little bit introverted, it doesn't matter. As long as you get good, interesting content out there that works, then people will latch on to you as being a person who provides value.
Mm-hmm. I have another question is, how did you make this shift? Because you talked about when you first started blogging, you were repurposing other people's content. But you weren't actually, you're teaching these people how to make money, but you yourself at that time weren't making money. But you knew that you would. I mean, you had this belief that you said, I know this is where I'm going for sure. And it was just this gestation period of going from where you were to repurposing content to then actually being in that space and making the money online to then kind of being that go-to person as the tipster. I would kind of like for you to talk about and share maybe some of your mental journey, because I know a lot of people kind of go through this where they say, well, I'm here at A and I want to go to B, and I know I'm going to get to B, but I'm not quite there. Bob Doyle talked about this when he was talking about the law of attraction, and now he sells courses on the law of attraction, of course, but there was a time when he was teaching the information where he just wasn't yet fully integrated embodying it, but he knew he would be. So there's always this emotional disconnect that we always play with as humans, saying, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not this enough, so I'm a fake, because how can I be teaching these people this information if I myself am not living it currently? So if you wouldn't mind, could you share kind of your journey in that area?
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you first start, you have no proof. So the thing is obviously you don't go out there making outrageous claims, because people will shoot you down in flames straight away. Mm-hmm. What you do is you can use other people's stories. I mean, I did a lot of this in the early days. I used to, not the Warrior Forum, because I hadn't really kind of grasped the Warrior Forum, but I used to pick up from other forums and just basically say to people, look, what you're saying sounds very interesting. Can you do a post for the blog? So I picked up a lot of other people's stories, because one of the especially in the early days, if you haven't got a lot of great content to share with people at that stage,
right,
it's always a good thing to go and ask people if you can use their content, use their story for your blog. Mm-hmm. And I did a fair bit of this in the early days. I was putting something out every single day, and what happens is although, yes, you're not looked on as an expert in those days, but if you get out there and do what I did, which is basically get the content onto, Facebook and YouTube and places like that, people start to pick up on what you're doing. And if they like what you're saying and what you're doing, then they tend to want a piece of that.
Right.
So that confidence in you coming from other people starts to build you up. And you're building up other people who are coming in under you. And it's a whole process. It's like you say, like attracts like. And the more successful that you appear to be, people tend to want to key into that success. So you do attract success by believing in yourself.
Yeah, perfect. And you said you really enhanced your blogs by adding video into them. Mm-hmm. So how important do you think video marketing is in general?
Wow, how important is breathing? How important is it? It is essential, absolutely essential. Look how much easier it is. Let's put a scenario in there. You know, if you're trying to rank on page 1 of Google for a specific keyword and you're using text only, you know, it's easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier if there aren't any other videos on that front page for that keyword, and you're going to build a video for that specific keyword. You've got a better chance of landing on page 1 with that video than you have with that blog, in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree, and I experienced this. I had a client in Las Vegas. He did car air conditioning repair. That was his niche. I mean, you want to talk about small. It was like in Las Vegas. And he's like, how do I get to page 1? So I looked at the competition, and there actually was a lot of competition. There was like 14 million competing pages, but there was of course, no video in that space. And so I said, hey man, let's shoot 20 short videos. I don't care if they're 35 seconds to a minute and a half, and just talk about frequently asked questions that you've been getting over the years. And we're going to shoot all of those at one time. I'm going to upload them, saturate the market with that, and then we're going to, at the end of the video, I want you to have a call to action to visit the lead capture page saying, hey, we'll give you the 20 videos to keep you from getting screwed from all the other car air conditioning repair places, because there's a lot of things that they don't tell you. So from this day, this is almost 2 years ago, he still, from that one little campaign, generates 10 to 12 leads a month. And we have not touched it since then. We just uploaded it to YouTube, drove it to a lead capture page. It sits in an autoresponder that automatically text messages him the people that opt in, and he can pick up the phone and call them. And 2 years ago, that one campaign still generates leads for him.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm totally with you. Video is like you said, how important is breathing? I think that is a very, very good analogy.
Well, especially for your business. I mean, because, you know, people want to see you. They want to, in order to know, like, and trust you, they need to kind of connect with you. And I think if you are always, I'm not saying hiding, but if you're always out of view of the public, that's not a good thing nowadays. Not with the advent of social media, etc. So by getting yourself out there, getting your face out there, and actually speaking to people through video, I think that builds a much bigger following than if you didn't do that.
Certainly, and I always find it funny when you have this conversation with some people and they say, well, I don't like the way I look on camera. People may not accept me very well. I always think it's funny because it's like, well, do you ever go out and meet people? They're like, well, yeah. Do you shake their hand and look them in the eye? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, then they're looking at you. And they're like, I haven't really thought about that. But it's so funny how, for whatever reason, we build this guard up like, oh, I can't be on video because it's, people aren't going to like me, or they're going to think I'm weird, and there's no difference because we're on video basically all the time.
Yeah, we all do it though, don't we? We all undervalue ourselves, and unfortunately, even if you're a relatively confident person, you still kind of undervalue yourself at times. I've done it many times.
Oh, certainly. So what has been your biggest traffic-getting strategy?
What has been my biggest traffic-getting strategy? I would have to say social media.
Social media.
I use Twitter. I use Facebook, YouTube, and very big in my armory of social media is Pinterest. Okay. I absolutely love Pinterest. Very
good. I've heard a lot of people that have been killing it with Pinterest. I haven't really even dove into it. Of course, I have an account, but I have not dove into it quite yet.
I find it very useful. I tend to, when I first had a Pinterest account, I was just pinning anything and everything. What I did was, I had a board specifically for the products I do and the services I do, and I also put some other boards on there on the things that people obviously want to see, which are things like quotes, funny stuff, bits and pieces about health. And I think within a couple of days, I'd made a sale.
Interesting.
Purely from Pinterest. So that's what kind of made me start to think, well, wow, I can use this to make money with. Right. And with Pinterest, I started creating boards which I thought people would be interested in. And as I was creating websites, because I do a lot of stuff for AdSense. Okay, so I was creating these websites for AdSense, and I was pinning them to Pinterest. So I was getting traffic that way from Pinterest by people coming over to a board, say for instance on home and garden, and I would pin the websites that I've done on home improvements to that board, and from that I was getting traffic because people were repinning the images, which of course was dragging the URLs of the websites across.
Now, that's interesting. So now is the board or the images that you're pinning, so like home improvement, do they have anything to do with what you're offering, which is the advice, or is it just traffic?
No, it's just pure traffic.
It's just pure traffic.
The image would be the image on the post or the page, and because it's an image of something that people like, people share images of things they like. So basically they would come on and just, sometimes they'd leave a comment and then they would just repin it. Well, of course, they're repinning it to their followers because their followers can now see that. And that's how I was getting traffic back from Pinterest.
And like was on the home and garden board that you created and you posted the image from the blog post, I'm assuming that the website you created was about home and garden.
Yeah, it was several sites. I did several sites. I mean, I just did a project. It took me 2.5 months, and I created 100 AdSense sites, 100 AdSense-ready sites, and they were on various different subjects. But a large majority of them was on, home and garden. So I just created a board on Pinterest on home and garden and just added those pins to it.
Okay.
And it, it seems to work. So that was just one of the things I did with social media.
Awesome. And so how much time do you spend a day on social media? Because a lot of people think, well, goodness gracious, I got to spend 10 hours a day on social media to drive traffic.
You don't have to spend 10 hours a day. I spend an hour.
Uh-huh.
So an hour's good for me. And in that time, I share a lot of stuff, really. And I get a lot of benefit from social media.
Awesome. One of the things you talk about on Facebook is you said one of the things that you learned fairly rapidly was that the internet's not rocket science, and you don't want to do what the people say, but you want to do the things that they're doing.
Yep.
So what do you mean by that?
This is what I mean by it. There's a lot of things that are said out on the internet, and when you sometimes look at the people that are saying them, they're saying them, but they're not necessarily doing them themselves. What I tend to do is, if I want to learn, say for instance, if I want to learn something about WordPress, I would look at someone who is very good at WordPress, someone that is obviously making WordPress pay. If I want to learn something about membership sites, I would look at someone who is obviously very good at creating membership sites and making that pay. There's a lot of membership sites out there that teach a lot of stuff, but what I would rather know is how to do what that person running the membership site is doing, because obviously that is where the money is. Certainly.
So basically you're reverse engineering what it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first got started, I did that a whole lot. I would go through campaigns. Like, I love direct response campaigns. Like, I think about them. I dream about them. I love them.
That's very sad, AJ.
I know. I'm so freaking nerdy. It's not even funny. But it's true. Like, I will have an inspired idea on my big whiteboard, and I will go draw out a campaign. I'm like, yes! And then I'll, invite people over to, talk about it and show them this drawing of this campaign. Goodness. But one of the things I learned was I would go through Brendan Bouchard or Frank Kearns or even Mike Koenig's. I'd go through the stuff. I wouldn't buy their stuff, but I would go through the campaign and I would well, that's how they shot the video. Or, wow, this is the way they're messaging this video. Or I'd read their email copy and I'd dissect it and pull out the psychology that they're using and even look at how long the copy was. And that's really kind of what helped me, and that's the way we actually got our first students, is we ran out a simple campaign, 2 emails, and that generated the monthly income of $3,000 just in a couple emails. But I was going through, way before that, a year and a half of dissecting campaigns to understand the psychology. I think it's so important to understand the psychology behind marketing necessarily than just doing and doing and doing, because a lot of times without the psychology and without the underlying foundations and structure, you can do all you want, but you're not really going to get much results.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, it's about people at the end of the day, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. Certainly is. All about relationships. I mean, that's life in general, right? At the end of the day, it's all about relationships.
Without relationships, you don't have much. I mean, you can have plenty of money, but if you haven't got good relationships with other people or a good relationship with yourself, then, you're not rich at all.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? Well, I'll tell you what I would do. I would build a list straight away.
Yep.
Definitely I would build a list straight away. I didn't, and that was a mistake. It took me a few months to realise that. I was, as I say, I was concentrating on one thing.
Right.
But I wasn't paying a great deal of attention to building a list. If you haven't got a list, it's a bit like having a business with a wonky leg. It's just not really going to work, in my view. If you're online and you're marketing, you need to capture those people's addresses and you need to market to those people. You need to build a relationship with those people and keep that relationship going. I do hear a lot of people talking about, that they haven't built a list. And I think it's a very shaky foundation to try and build an online business without a marketing list. Because after all, if you ever had to sell that business, what is it that you would sell? I mean, it's the list where the value is, isn't it?
Certainly, yeah, you're exactly right. And it's always interesting to me that even in the offline space, a lot of people aren't building a list. And if they do, they're underestimating really one of their biggest assets. It's not their brick and mortar space or even what they do, their services, but it's their contacts. And a lot of times they underutilize that,
Definitely. Can I just tell you about my latest project?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It's a Skype group called the Dream Team.
Uh-huh.
And it's actually, you can join this Skype group if it's dreamteamonskype.com. And it's got just over 100 members at the moment, and it was set up purely to get newcomers and experts in one place to share information and to share and swap skills.
Very good.
I've kind of advertised it throughout Facebook and other social media quite a lot. And as I say, it filled up pretty quickly, and then we shut the doors because I wanted people to start building relationships within the group. Mm-hmm. And it has been so useful for the members. If they've got a problem, they can just come into the group and just ask a question. And, we've had people that have had problems, major problems, solved within 30 minutes. It's that good. So I just wanted to give a mention out there to the Dream Team, which is a fantastic Skype group. And I'm reopening it again to new members from the 14th of October.
Perfect. And where can they go to sign up or learn more about it?
Yeah, they can go to dreamteamonskype.com.
Perfect. Dreamteamonskype.com. Perfect. Well, go ahead.
We'd like to have you as a member, AJ.
Yeah, I will definitely have to go check it out. I appreciate the time today, Keith. I really appreciate you sharing everything that you've been through and your advice and experience and just everything and your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And didn't that half an hour go quickly?
Oh, it certainly did. Certainly did.